And that's why you shouldn't put tater tots in your left earlobe.
That is right. And now let's move on to cloning. Now, cloning is creating a copy of an organism that is both anatomically and genetically identical to the original organism.
While it's not as well known, cloning has been used to create molecular clones. These would be like creating a copy of DNA, much like your cells do. However, there really isn't much controversy about that, so we're not really going to talk about it too much.
So, I'm sure you guys are all familiar with the movie Star Wars, or the movie saga Star Wars, where a group of clones, called the Clones, is portrayed as a misrepresentation of what cloning really is. They are represented as mass-produced individuals that aren't really individuals. They have the same personality, and they're expendable. Kind of a dystopian view of cloning.
Contrary to these movies, which portray cloning as extremely futuristic and something that's totally unrealistic, cloning actually exists today and has for multiple decades. Up till now, many common animals such as cats, cattle, deer, frog, goats, horses, mice, mules, pigs, rabbits, rats, sheep, and wolves have all been cloned. In addition, other animals such as carp, fruit flies, gars, mouflons, Pyrenean ibexes, rhesus monkeys, and a water buffalo have all been cloned.
So this raises the question, all these things have been cloned, but how does it actually work? Let's visit Elias in the field to help answer those questions. Elias? Elias?
Oh yes, I'm here with Dr. D, a scientist specializing in clonal research. How are you today, Doctor?
I'm fine, thank you.
So, could you lend me a little bit more insight about how cloning works?
Of course, there's two types of cloning. There's organic cloning and there's molecular cloning. Organic cloning is when an animal is cloned. Molecular cloning is when an exact copy of a molecule is cloned, typically DNA, and this is usually done in a lab environment.
Could you describe the process of organic cloning for me a little bit more in depth?
Of course. Well, it uses a process called somatic cell nuclear transfer. What that means is genes of one organism are implanted into an empty egg cell. That egg cell is then put back into a surrogate mother, where it develops hormonally into an embryo and ultimately a fully functional organism.
I'm assuming this is a fairly complicated process.
Absolutely. The process itself follows a straightforward pattern, but a number of things can go wrong while manipulating the extremely fragile DNA molecules.
Thank you, Doctor.
You're welcome.
Back to you.
Thank you, Elias. Now, I'm sure all of you are familiar with the story of Dolly the sheep. In 1996, Dolly became the first mammal to be successfully cloned. The road to this milestone was, however, a long one. It began in 1885, where a man demonstrated the successful splitting of the cells of a sea urchin embryo. All he did was shake it.
Later, in 1902, a thin noose made out of a baby's hair was used to sever the embryo of a salamander in two. This did not end favorably. One salamander ended up with two heads, and the other one ended up dead.
In 1928, the aforementioned experiment was repeated using an improved technique. This time, he was able to successfully transfer the nucleus into multiple embryonic cells, potentially creating as many embryos as he wanted. This process became known as embryonic nuclear transfer.
The next decade saw further advancements and even successes of embryonic nuclear transfer.
In perhaps the most well-known revolution in cloning history, in 1996, Dolly the sheep was born using the genes from a non-embryonic cell. This process was named somatic cell nuclear transfer, or SCNT. Unlike embryonic nuclear transfer, SCNT, however, did not require the genetic information from a successfully fertilized embryo. This had many potential applications, such as completely repopulating an extinct species with nothing more than its genetic information.
Since then, research has been conducted to produce effective methods of cloning, more effective methods of cloning than previously, and led to the cloning of many different animals, and we've even combined genetic engineering with cloning to produce genetically modified mammals.
Today, believe it or not, there is even a company that will clone your dog for you. Yes, it is true. In South Korea, one such company will clone your dog for a measly price of $100,000.
Now you know the facts. Although this technology could have massive positive implications, it also has the potential for dire consequences.
Will cloning provide the long sought-after end to genetic disorders? Will it bring back the species us humans have driven to extinction? Or will it lead to a dangerous loss of genetic diversity, individualism, and an overall disregard for human life?
We have sent Elias out again to answer these questions and gather some public opinions.
Do you have some time for some questions? We wanted to interview you.
Will you leave when I answer?
Yep. Alright, sir.
I'll call you back.
What do you know about cloning?
It's just a bunch of people that look like twins and walk around.
Sir, what do you know about cloning?
Oh, cloning is a bad thing. They generate many clones which fight each other and stuff. Clones are genetically identical organisms. You're from the NSA.
No, sir, I've just come to ask you some questions.
Well, cloning is a lie. It's a figure of everyone's imagination.
Where do you usually see clones?
Typically in movies, TV shows, Netflix. Movies, internet, TV shows, lies. Movies and TVs and crap like that. Can you just... Movies and... Movies.
There's more movies, yeah. Do you think these accurately portray clones?
Cloning was real, yes, I'd say so. But it's not. Not really accurate, but they could be. Dude, just why? Oh, movies portray cloning really accurately. Movies are always right. Always right. Always right. Not so accurate, but they're not machines, you know? They're actual organisms.
Living beings like you and me.
Yeah, like us, yeah.
So how accurately would you say do movies and TV shows represent cloning?
Pop culture today has portrayed cloning as a crazy misconception. Many picture researchers as rogue scientists who try to make designer babies, but this really isn't true. Cloning is a long, difficult, and pricey process which often results in a low success rate.
So how can cloning be used for research purposes?
Well, organisms that are genetically identical provide for a better control group, which allows us to study genetic diseases without worrying about a genetic variance in an environment.
Cloning is often used in research. These test subjects are often seen as expendable, but the experiments greatly benefit mankind. Do you think this is justified despite the animals being, used?
Yeah, I'd say they're justified if they're treated fairly, yes. I would. No, it's not worth it. It's not justified. People are putting needles inside animals, alright? It's hurting them. It's not good for them, alright? It's just not okay. Alright? Sure, I'm just driving waiting for my friend. Can you, no, it's not. None of it's justified. It's all a lie. It's a conspiracy. Don't you get it? All of this is a conspiracy. Cloning is a conspiracy. Conspiracy.
So what are some other potential applications for cloning?
Well, reproductive cloning may enable researchers to make copies of organisms with potential benefits in the fields of medicine. For instance, the same Scottish researcher that cloned Dolly has also cloned different sheep that have been genetically modified to produce milk that contains human proteins essential for blood clotting.
Very interesting.
This example also provides a simple proof of concept. From here we can make improvements.
Cloning obviously has many benefits, but there are risks associated with these benefits. You think they're worth it?
Yeah, for the sake of our future, I'd say it's worth it. No, it's polluting our environment. We shouldn't be doing this. We should really stop. Yes, I think they're worth it, but as scientists, we should approach it very carefully so we don't hit any bumps and boops. What risks? How many times do I have to tell you? This is all a lie. It's a conspiracy. All of it's a conspiracy. Don't you just get it? Don't you get it?
Alright, thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Alright, thank you, sir.
Yeah,
thank
get
you,
out.
Sir.
Get out.
Excuse
Come
me. Have a great day.
So there are both sides of the argument. With further advancement, cloning could greatly benefit mankind, and even bring back extinct species.
On the other hand, it could result in the mass production of humans, a loss of genetic diversity and individuality, parents hand-picking their child's genes, and an overall disregard for human and animal lives alike.
Cloning is definitely a great power, and like my uncle once said, with great power comes great responsibility.
Did you seriously wait this entire video just for that punchline?
Yes, I did.
Alright then. Well, stay tuned as we go over the legality of vigilantes enforcing domestic justice.